Okay, welcome everybody back to Steve Talks Boxing X, STBX. This week we were going to be talking about the Pat McCormick fight versus Peter Dobson, but due to injury that has been postponed. McCormack's pulled out with injury, but obviously the show must go on. So still going to talk about Matchroom'S undercard this Saturday and just a bit of general boxing talk as well. And joining me this week is Matt from the Counterpunch. Welcome, Matt. Thanks for coming on.
Nice. No problem, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, good. I'll say. Obviously, bit of disappointment in this weekend show, Matt.
Yeah.
I would say. I put a tweet out earlier. Is there going to be much interest in Saturday night's show going ahead with Matchroom?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think I live in Sunderland, so I'll be going to the show on Saturday night, and I think that was always my plan. Yeah, I mean, look, this show's had a couple of setbacks, hasn't it? I mean, when the date was originally announced, it was going to be Lewis Ritson and Cyrus Patterson. You know, that was always the plan for this, a bit of a changing of the guard type main event. Cyrus obviously had the setback, he lost to Conor Walker. Pat McCormack was then promoted to the headline, and then he dropped out injured about 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah, it's only a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it, I think, so...
Yeah, so in fairness to Matchroom, I mean, I don't think they've promoted the show particularly well, but I think with these next gen ones, they tend not to really. Obviously, they focus all their attention on what they see as obviously the big money cards. I actually think this is a decent show. I think it has definitely suffered from losing McCormack as the main event, but I think for a next gen, Matchroom have got abundance of Northeast talent on the cards now. They've got to get them out in the Northeast in Newcastle, and I still think, sort of the main event shifted. Masood's come in. I think it's his first fight in 11 months or possibly 12 months even. It's not ideal. I question when he ring walks how many people will still be sat in the arena, and that's a bit of a risk.
Yeah.
Because they'll have come to see the Northeast lads, and when he ring walks and if it's 10:30, 11 o'clock, people will naturally have drifted away. But I still think it's a solid card, Steve. I still think some good fights on.
Yeah.
You and Mackenzie, I was going to say, sorry, him against Ishmael Davis is a really, really good fight, and I think that and Mark Dickinson are two to certainly look out for.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys on the card there fairly early in their career that they've had literally under 5 fights, maybe under 10 fights, some of them there. So only the second or third fight, isn't there? So and these guys, they need a chance, they need a platform to perform, don't they? So
100%. And you put a show like that on. They did the one in the Midlands as well, didn't they? I think it was in Wolverhampton. Yeah. You've got to fill it with local fighters, and it's building those guys' profiles. And people, I saw your tweet this morning. People will naturally say, "Yeah, I'll still watch it. I'm a hardcore boxing fan," or "No, it doesn't really interest me." Of course, the casual fans not cancelling the night out to watch this one, but still think looking at Ticketmaster and looking at the other ticket selling sites, it looks as if it's sold pretty well. So I think there'll be decent atmosphere on the night, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's good. It's a night out for you as well,
Yeah,
exactly. You can't complain, can you? Really, a night out, good show.
A night out and only 2 hours to travel, so.
Yeah, I said it's good night out, isn't it? Anyway, so you can't complain. I was going to say, what would you think is the most frustrating thing? Like 2 weeks ago, obviously this fight was on, so and then it was called off, obviously just before. What do you think? What as a fan? Is there anything more frustrating than that? Than people pulling out?
Possibly 11 p.m. ring walks for the main event. Other than
that's a whole topic on its own. I could take a whole hour talking about fans about that, I think.
Yeah, you could do a whole show on that, to be fair. No, it is frustrating. Look, it's frustrating for the fans because you've bought a ticket, not necessarily to see that main event, but you've bought it based on the card as it's produced at the time. But, I mean, it's frustrating for a promoter because Eddie Hearn can't really cancel that show. He's got to find somebody else to step in. And it's really frustrating for the fighter. I mean, Pat McCormack fighting, he's a Northeast lad, chance to fight in front of a home crowd, and he has to pull out 2 or 3 weeks before with an injury. He might not get that chance again for a while. So, yeah it's just disappointing for us, but I guess it's probably even more disappointing for him and also for Cyrus to not get back on after what happened earlier in the year.
Yeah, definitely. It is a case of really the show must go on. Similar to what happened with Boxer a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
With them guys, they obviously changed the venue and changed the headline fight there. So you still need these fights to go out and fight, don't you, basically?
Definitely.
while we're on the subject, Eddie, we're going off obviously the main match card fight on Saturday. Is he right in arranging the Ben versus Eubank Jr. fight, in your opinion?
Look, I think I very much sit on the side of the fence that I don't think Conor Benn should be fighting until he's fully cleared. Now, I'm not really sure what the situation is at the moment. I've almost given up on following it because every day there's a different report. What we know for a fact is he can fight outside the UK. So if they're looking to make that fight abroad, then fine, crack on, do it. But I think it's a fight that needs to be done within the UK. So if the board are going to object to that, then I think they just need to try and find a way between all parties, because there's blame on both sides here. Sit down, try and overcome the issues and move forward. If the board are going to stick their foot in and refuse to concede on certain points, and I totally understand where they're coming from. They haven't got the evidence that has got them satisfied that Ben is cleared. Then I don't think we should see that outside the UK. I know it'll sell, but for me, it's a UK stadium fight. January worries me a little bit. It'll be pretty cold in a stadium in January.
Well, that's what Eddie was talking, was he? He's talking about January and a stadium fight.
I know. December was bad enough with Chisora and Fury, but January will...
It's cold, Eddie. It's cold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, come on, Eddie.
You may be all right ringside, but up in them seats, it's cold.
Exactly. So it's a fight I'd love to see, Steve. I just would like to see it under a situation whereby everything's cleared and the fight can proceed without controversy. Really,
I think a lot of fans will feel a lot better about the fight anyway, because the match itself is probably a bit of more of a name fight more than an actual fight, isn't it? Really, so it's just famous dads. You bring that along, really. So a grudge match as such.
And if you're Eubank, I know he could go on and fight for a world title, but it's about making money, isn't it? And that is a fight, and it would have a rematch no matter, who won, I guess. So, you can see what he's after it as well.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. Eubank Jr. at this stage of a career, he's not chasing world titles. He's chasing money, and it's a wise thing to do, isn't it? Really. So.
100%.
The Zone, obviously, they got some cracking fights to end the year, in my opinion. We've got like Cameron Taylor 2, Hanny Progress, Edwards against Rodriguez. Do you think it's eventually come around now, The Zone? Do you think it's good value for money now?
Yeah, look, I do think it's good value for money. I think you've got 3 packages now, don't you? You can pay your fixed monthly cost, you can have your flexible, or you can pay it all up front and get a bit of a discount. I think the difficulty with DAZN, Steve, is people naturally compare it to Sky and to BT. And Sky and BT, if you're subscribing to those channels, you're not doing it because you're a boxing fan. You're doing it because of football, essentially. Yeah. So the price points are different, but DAZN, you're really probably only subscribing to DAZN to watch boxing, unless you've converted yourself to the Saudi League over the last few months. So there'll be a few people for that. So therefore, when you look at the price point versus the fights you get, I can see the argument for it being too expensive for some people. I certainly wouldn't pay £19.99 for a flexible option. The only thing that frustrates me with DAZN is the pay-per-view and selling up the basis of we won't have pay-per-view and then shifting away from that within 6 months. I just think that sits well with people. But overall,
I think that peed off a lot of people, to be honest with you, and it made them just quit, just like cancel their subscription, just based on that, out of like. Just because they just didn't want to agree with that anyway. So you can't blame them neither, can you, really?
You can't. And look, let's be honest. I don't want to be called an Eddie Hearn fanboy, but Matchroom are putting on the best cards. Frank's a close second. I think he's put some good shows on this year.
Yeah, definitely.
And Boxer's well behind. So, you are getting some decent shows week in, week out. Just a lot of them aren't in the UK, which I guess, is another challenge for him. But, sort of globally, I don't think you can argue, really.
No, that's enough. Talking about them fight schedules, well, it could be any fights, really. It doesn't have to be DAZN, Matchroom, whatever. What fight are you looking forward to the most to end the year?
I think there's 2. I think, and they are both on DAZN. I think Haney Progress, I think, is a really, really good fight. Yeah. Fantastic fight. And Edwards and Bam, for me, is the one that I'm looking forward to, because I think it's just so intriguing. 2 contrasting styles. Who's going to come out on top, really?
Yeah. I must admit that one for me is probably the highlight. They're two of the best at the weight. It should be good, shouldn't it? Really. So
You're going to have Bam
early,
chasing down and Edwards, like he always is, elusive and just trying to catch him on the counter. So it is a really intriguing fight, and I think it is really a 50-50 fight as well.
50-50. I was going to say, any early predictions for that one if you had to put yourself on the spot? So
I can see Edwards dancing around, wearing Bam out, making him miss, getting him frustrated, and as he does, getting a points decision.
Points decision, yeah. Obviously, Edwards is not a massive hitter, we know that, but obviously Bam can certainly has got a bit of a dig on him even. So, but yeah, it should be a great fight. You're going to stay up and watch that one live, are you, or is that watching the morning jobby?
It might be a little sleep at 12 o'clock and wake up at 4. Yeah.
yeah. So you have to have like little tactics, really. So
get early dinner in, get to bed, get up again.
Or power the way through. I tend to watch it in the morning with a cup of coffee. I stay away from social media and the phone and everything, and just watch it. So I'm not half asleep. Change the subject again. Obviously, this has been in the news quite a bit, boxing news as well. AJ versus Ngannou as a possible fight. What's your thoughts on that one?
Not interested in it whatsoever.
No reason why?
Look, I think hats off to Ngannou. He fought a really good fight against Fury. He surprised everybody. But I think it's a sad indictment of the heavyweight division that we're sat here talking about AJ versus Ngannou when we should be talking about AJ versus Wilder or AJ versus Fury or whatever. I think the fact that Ngannou can have one fight against, regardless of what he says, an underprepared Tyson Fury who's been inactive for, even excluding the Chisora fight, hasn't had a competitive fight since the Wilder 3. And that's not his fault in terms of the weight. He did well against Dillian White. That was a mandatory. He then took an easy voluntary. I just think I want to see AJ against Wilder. I'm not interested in AJ against Ngannou.
What about any Ngannou fights then? Where would he sit in the heavyweights then? Would you like to see him fight, I don't know, the Chisora maybe?
Yeah, well, he's put his name forward, unsurprisingly. Yeah. I'm also in the camp of I would rather Derek Chisora hung up his gloves. But I think if he is going to get back in with somebody like a Chisora. I've heard Zhang's name mentioned. Again, I think, Zhang will have other priorities rather than fighting an Ngannou. Does a Joe Joyce want to come back and have a crack at that? He probably needs to get, build his stock up again. But it's what sells, isn't it? And that's the problem is fighting Joyce doesn't sell, fighting Zhang doesn't sell, fighting AJ does. And, Eddie's changed his tune. His fight he's now demanding for two reasons. One, money. Two, he probably thinks AJ can knock him out, and then that makes him look better than Tyson. Say hats off to the guy. I hope he does well. I hope he forges a career in boxing as best he can at his age. But for me, I'd rather see AJ versus Wilder.
You obviously, I was going to say, I think it would be a fight that could easily sell in the UK.
Yeah.
After obviously the Fury fight, But like I said, it's probably not. It's more again a money fight than. A real fight, isn't it? It's just about money, a money spinner. Yeah. Keeping on the subject, always ask my guests on this, my closing questions, and we're going to go back to AJ and Wilder. Okay. Are we actually going to see that sometime soon? Because obviously goalposts have changed quite a bit. Are you optimistic on that?
I wouldn't say I'm optimistic. I'd like to think it can happen, and I think if we finally get Usyk and Fury signed, that potentially drives AJ and Wilder more, I would suggest.
Yeah.
I think if the former doesn't happen, I'm not sure the latter does, which will be a real shame because we've been close to it before. Wilder's on social media calling for it, AJ's calling for it, but politics seem to get in the way. So I really, really do hope, Steve, as I say, the heavyweight division is struggling at the minute in terms of big fights, and I think if you could get those two made, it'd be a much better place. So fingers crossed it happens, but I won't hold my breath.
Yeah, because obviously they changed the date so many times, wasn't it? It was originally December. You can change it every time you look. There's a different date for it, and I think people just lose hope it's actually going to happen. I think AJ will probably fight in December.
Yeah,
I don't know who at the moment really. So it could be I don't know. It could be anyone, couldn't it? Really. So
I'd rather see AJ in against an Otto Wallin or somebody like that. Somebody who can give him a few rounds, give him a bit of a test, and he can possibly look good against. I mean, it's a risk because he could look poor against him, but I think I'd rather see a fight like that than him jump in with Ngannou just to make a bit of money. And
just for the money.
Yeah.
No, I agree. You briefly touched on my next question was always going to be how hopefully you're going to see Fury versus Usyk as well, but you think these fights rely a lot on each other actually being made to progress.
Yeah, I think certainly I think if we get Fury Usyk, I'm more inclined to think that Wilder AJ could happen. I think Fury, immediately after that fight, I questioned, is this Fury going into retirement mode again? Now that the dust settled a little bit and we've had a further announcement, and Alex Krasik came out and said, February is the date now, it'll be announced in the next few days. Like most boxing fans, until they're in the ring and the bells rang, I won't be 100% certain, but I do think this will happen. I do think Tyson feels the pressure to have this fight. And even though he's come off the back of a bad performance, I think if he goes into a proper training camp and really dedicates himself, then I'd like to think that, if they make the date for February and they announce it in the next couple of weeks, that actually happens, barring injury to either party.
Yeah, I think it's a fight what obviously most fans want to see at the heavyweight division, and there's just that frustration. Again, it's dates. Obviously, we had a date before the Ngannou fight, 23rd of December, didn't we? And then obviously straight after the fight, it's not happening. To be honest with you, so again, it gets taken away. Possibility of a potential fight. But it is frustrating as fans, isn't it? Really. So
the frustrating thing is, Steve, the excuses come out that Tyson needs a rest, and I've heard 3 or 4 people peddle that. I mean, well, what's he been doing for the last 12 months?
Yeah.
Filming a Netflix show for me, that's not that hard, is it really? I mean, I don't know how to film one, but I can't imagine it's that difficult and that taxing. So, he had a tougher night than he expected. He deserves a rest now. He deserves to have a proper training camp for it. But let's hope February's only a few months away. Let's hope we get it.
I was going to say, because realistically, even if he obviously won the Ngannou fight, quite easy, he would have had to gone straight into a training camp anyway, wouldn't he, to fight Usyk on the 23rd anyway. So you're looking at 8-week, 9-week training camp anyway, wouldn't you? So.
Yeah, and I know Usyk's come out and basically countered what Fury said around the 23rd of December, there's a legal agreement, etc. But I'm not sure he was ready for that date either. I think he'll be quite thankful for an extra couple of months to really get into a proper training camp, and hopefully we see the best version of both men come whenever it is.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Well, that's pretty much it for this week. Last of all, I just wanted to say Matt does some great work on his blog, well worth a follow. I'm going to put the link on underneath the YouTube feed as well, the counterpunch.co.uk. Well worth a look in, so obviously go check it out. Obviously, Matt, thanks for coming on the show. It's great to hear your opinion there. So
no problem. Thanks for having me on, Steve.
Yeah, brilliant. And obviously, enjoy the boxing on Saturday. I'll look out for you on TV.
I look forward to seeing what your snacks are. I'm hoping a couple of bottles of brown in there. And
look out for that as well. But enjoy the fights. Get your beers and snacks in. Standard for me, really. So, but and thanks again.
No, thank you.
Thank you.